Start recording, and we'll kick this meeting off here, and we'll get on with it here. So, welcome everybody to the January meeting of the Seattle Robotics Society. Give me one sec here. There we go. So, I was watching an earlier meeting about, I think one of the first times when that message pops up about the recording. So if you don't click continue, then basically you're either, because the meeting is being recorded, you are either continuing to stay with the meeting or you're going to get booted out, right? That's kind of what that does? Anybody? That was the prompt that showed up on my second computer here. That's kind of what it said. It basically said continue or leave meeting. So
yeah,
okay. Just wanted to be kind of clear that's how that worked.
Yep, you have to consent to being recorded.
Okay. So that's so anybody that okay, there we go. So anybody who wants to stay on, then click on that, acknowledge that to continue. And
I got the message that said meetings being recorded, got it, and then something else. I just clicked got it.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. So as always, I was glad to see you guys here. The typical agenda and possibly a robotics discussion following the meeting that is not recorded. I need to go meet my son Peter around 1, so I cannot hang around too long after the meeting, but I could probably hang on for a while. Let's see, just some general protocols here. If you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. I can mute you from my panel here. So if I find an excessive amount of noise creeping in through one of you guys, you may find it'll just it may go away because I may go away. But do appreciate it if you want to share something. Go ahead and unmute your microphone and talk. Otherwise, keep your microphones muted, and so you don't have cat fights going on in the background there disturbing everything. As has already been started here, open up a chat window on your terminal there, and feel free to post information, links, comments, questions, whatever into the chat for everybody to see. And don't make the mistake I made there. You have to be kind of careful about, down on the bottom of your chat window, it'll say to, and then it'll list either everyone or an individual. And sometimes you can accidentally select an individual, and you find that you think you're posting to everyone, but you're in fact only posting to that one person. So just make sure that you've got that set the way you want it to, if you want to do a private message or if you want to do a public message. Let's see, we were just, Lloyd and I were just discussing, and we made a determination that FIRST has landed. First Washington has a new location. If anybody is familiar at all where Metal Supermarket is in Kent, it's about, it looks like it's about 4 or 5 blocks south of where the old field house was located. So they're back on 72nd Avenue, so they're a little bit east, and then they're south, 224th. We were on 212th, so it's actually that feels like it should be further than that, doesn't it? That should be about a mile south, but it doesn't look like it's quite that far on Google. But anyway, so our hope is, Lloyd and I hope to be able to meet Kevin down there sometime here, maybe during the next month, and check the place out and see how it'll work for us. And if it does turn out to be a good fit, then I'll update the website, and as soon as the next opportunity, we'll see if we can get ourselves an in-person meeting going again here. It's I don't know about you, but I've got a whole garage full of crap that I would really love to unload on you guys. So I miss being able to bring stuff to these meetings, and this room that I'm in here has got a lot of stuff in it too. And I'd really like to just kind of downsize. I don't want to get rid of all my robotic stuff, but I really have more stuff here than I have room for. So it'd be great to be able to do a little, creative cleaning and decluttering. The new website is up and going. I don't know how many people have had a chance to do any exploring on it. The old website is actually available on it, and I thought I would just kind of give you a very quick, brief tour here. I'm going to switch over to it. So the new website is done in WordPress, so it'll automatically scale to phones and tablets and laptops and everything else. So it's a much better, more modern look than the previous one. You've got there's these drop downs for the usual stuff. There's a new link here that if for presenter information. So if you come across somebody who might be interested in presenting to us, you can point them to this presenter information page, and this will just provide a brief description of what we're looking for from a presenter. And so this will just kind of give people an idea of what we're after and what we have to offer in terms of an audience. And then of course, as with other things, you can go and you can find past meeting information. And then I've got a very brief description of what those meetings, what the presentation of those meetings was about. If as an example of getting to the old website, you'll note down here on the bottom, it says July 1820 and older is to the old website archive. So when you click on that, you'll get to this page. And then when you click on the little link, you'll notice that it'll actually come up to the old website as you probably remember it. And this is an archive version. And if you look up at the URL in the top there, you'll note that the address is actually the same as it was before for any given page, but you've got archive dot in front of Seattle Robotics. So if you've got any links or anything that points to something on the old website and you want to fix it so that it'll repoint to it again, just put archive dot in front of Seattle Robotics, and that should work. And you'll find that you can get to if you click on the encoder, you will get to the encoder front page here, and you can get to all of the articles that were in the encoder before. So it's kind of a work in progress, but I do believe that everything that was there is here. Don't have any plans of doing any modernization of this piece simply because it would be an enormous task to convert all of this content to WordPress. And I'm sorry, guys, but you just don't pay me enough to do that. So I'm gonna have to. I just can't do it. So if you get back to this old homepage, if you click on the SRS home button up here at the very top, it'll actually take you back to the new site homepage. So that's how you can kind of go. You can go back and forth between the old site and the new site. And there are a few references here and there. Here under the announcements, there's a reference to the old site, and there's a few other things kind of hidden in there, sort of little Easter eggs, so to speak. So anyway, go ahead and look it over and give me any kind of feedback. If you find something in there that I need to fix, or I can't promise that all the encoder articles are flawless, because I know there's some of those that have dead links in them and things like that just because of how old they are. I don't really want to go fix those. You're welcome to be happy to send you the content and have you fix them if you'd like, but I prefer to just make the content available, and then we'll go from there. Once we start meeting in person again, our plan is to continue with online. So that will require some help from people that attend the in-person stuff. So don't know what kind of facilities we're going to have at first. I was kind of hoping maybe there would be an actual video conference room there, but I don't know, until we have a chance to meet Kevin Ross down there and look things over. We'll see what's going on. So I'm continuing to do weekly robotics classes with some junior high kids. I have 6 of them right now that I'm working with, and we're currently using these blue robots here, which I've shown you before. And I will actually have one of these that I want to show you. I kind of do a little demo for the thing when we get to that part. I mentioned this last month that I'm kind of in the process of working on putting together kind of a junior high online robotics collaboration where I can have maybe a half a dozen kids or maybe more. I don't know how many I can handle, but having a kind of a regular online meeting with kids to do robotics, probably based on this particular kit, but it could be based on another one. This is a kind of a cool kit because you can build all three of these robots, any one of these three robots from the kit. I'll try to make sure that this is posted prominently on the website. Coming up next month is going to be our afternoon meeting. So we will not be having one at 10 in the morning as usual, Pacific time, but it will be 3 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon to accommodate our Japanese presenter who's going to be coming to us live from Japan. And so maybe I'll probably end up kind of I'll probably have something here. Maybe I'll have something online here running during around the 10 o'clock meeting, just to remind you all, hey, there's not going to be a meeting today. It's going to be this afternoon. And so I'll probably do something like that on this Saturday, so that it kind of reminds everybody and anybody that doesn't get this. Presenters, I'm always interested in potential presenters. I've got a few more of them now that I'm looking at. I'll show you the lineup that's coming. It's looking pretty good here for the most part, but you can feel free to invite people, point them to the information that's on the website about what we're looking for from a presenter. So here's what our lineup is looking like. So as you can see, we've got every slot filled from now through September. So if anybody's looking at doing something, October is the first open month in this coming year. So, but I'm always happy to put somebody in there. So if you got a project you want to share or know somebody, let me know. And a little bit later today, we're going to have Miro's going to share with us about the EXME 3D printed Mars rover, and he's kind of here and there. He is online. Let's see if he's trying to see if I gotta make my. I know I chatted with him earlier, so I know he's here. Oh, I think he's, well, I'm not actually seeing him at the moment, but I know he is planning, he will be here. So, yeah, it's interesting. He looks like he may have dropped off there. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was going to go grab some food and then come back.
Yeah, so I think he'll be back. So anyway, so he is, as you can see there, he's going to be coming to us live from Switzerland. So it's going to be about 8 o'clock. Our presentation for him is going to go from about 8 to 9 p.m. tonight at his time. So another one of our, distant but quite accessible remote presenters. Kind of cool here. We've had a number of these folks coming to us from a long ways away. So it's kind of cool that we can do this. Whoops. And open discussions, we'll probably throw something like this in there. So all kinds of interesting possibilities. A new one that I added here just yesterday was robots that can help people if they have a physical limitations or disabilities. There are robots that can help people to function and do things for them, either assistance type robots or robots that can help people to communicate or whatever. And so that would be another interesting topic, I think, to particularly if we could find somebody that actually uses technology like that. And Robothon, I'm going to hand this one to Lloyd to just kind of give us any, kind of an update on what our plans are from the last Robothon meeting and what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
So, Lloyd.
Am I live? Yep, you guys can hear me. So, yeah, we did our, what was it, November? We did our last Robothon exhibition. That all went pretty well. We're going to meet the end of this month to talk about what we're going to do next. As you can see, we're looking at March or April to do some type of another event. It may or may not be similar to the Robothon exhibitions we've done before. We're kind of going to discuss that and see what we want to do. The other thing Steve and I were talking about at the beginning of the meeting, if you look up the site for the new First Wa building, it's right by the interurban trail. There's some grassy areas out there that may give us an opportunity to do something with something outdoors, and maybe start outdoors and then see where things go. Kind of everything's up in the air right now a bit, if you haven't gathered that from what I've said so far. I guess the key takeaway is, yes, we're still planning something. B, we don't know quite what it is yet.
Right.
I've also been in touch with Seattle Center, and that avenue is starting to come alive again a little bit as well. But it's really just going to be dependent on what's safe and what we can do. Mm-hmm. And as everybody can tell, that's a pretty fluid situation.
Okay.
That's where we're at. I've told you everything we know. We know nothing.
Now you know even less than we know. Thank you, Lloyd. We have the kits, this one and this one. So I'll just kind of flick back and forth between these two. We had a fella get one of these actually last month, and Lloyd has both. I have one of these, the Arduino Uno based one yet. I have one. Sold the activity bot a while back. So, but Lloyd has both. So if you're interested in one of these things, do reach out to us at the email posted there, and we'll work out some way for you to get one. And
checks are graciously accepted.
Yeah. And let's see, virtual robotic discussions, that's just after the meeting. These things, it's an opportunity to just chat about whatever. And, it's informal. Whoever wants to hang around, we'll just continue. It will not be recorded, but just be an opportunity to, chat about stuff during the meeting, a little bit like the post-meeting mingling time that we used to have. Hopefully we can get back to the real thing here and not too far down the road. So, and finally, well, it's not too bad. Only 19 after. So, so who's got something that they would like to share, show, talk about, questions to ask, advice needed, whatever? Do I need a little cricket sound to go in here? Cricket, 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 cricket.
I have something tangentially related to robotics to share when everybody else is done.
Well, wait a second, Greg. Tangentially? I mean, I like that. I like that word. Let's see. Well, it sounds like you stepped up. So, let's see. Are you sharing? Have you got your video on? Because you're not popping up on the.
Yeah, my video's on.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I see you.
So to show it, I'm going to try to log in on my phone here so I can use the camera. But I've reached a point in my robot development that I need to put together some PC boards, populate some PC boards that are the most complicated ones that I've done so far. And I thought what I need is some way to put the parts on there. I need a pick and place machine. I don't need one for production, so I don't need it to be fast. It doesn't have to be extremely accurate, but I have trouble putting the small parts and getting them aligned well. So I decided I needed a small pick and place machine. And I wanted it to have a metal surface so that I could use magnets to hold the part holders and the PC board in place, and a cookie sheet seemed to be just the right size. So what I've developed is what I call the cookie sheet pick and place machine. So just a second here, I will try to make it so you can see it. You don't want to see me again. Hello. Just a second, figure out how to turn that around. There we go. Okay. Now, okay, so there's cookie sheet pick and place. One of the constraints, though, that I placed on myself because I couldn't fully justify this project was that I wasn't allowed to buy any parts if I already had some version of that part in stock. So most of it's stuff that's out of my, we all have it, our junk drawers or junk piles or surplus boxes. It actually started out as a maker-bought 3D printer. That is to say, I came across a maker-bought 3D printer that I didn't think could be salvaged as a 3D printer, and I started taking it apart, and it had this XY mechanism mounted up in the top of the printer. And
Hey,
I
Greg.
saw that and thought, hey, I could make something out of that someday.
Hey, Greg,
And a week
can you
later,
move the camera so that we can see it?
Yeah, Greg, we're still only seeing your computer camera. We're not seeing your phone.
oh,
Are you?
No, check.
The phone is different. He logged on again.
Look for Greg's shoe.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can.
And when I pinned it, it became full screen.
There we go.
Got it. Thank you, Greg. I'd missed
Got
that.
it. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And so about a week later, I thought, that's about the size of the cookie sheet. So I made these little adapters and mounted the XY carriage to the bottom side of the cookie sheet. On one side, it has kind of a rail system, a bunch of holes I can drop nuts into so that I can mount what I need in terms of electronics to it. So over on this side, we have a board that I got from a friend of mine. It's a board that he developed that runs a 6-axis version of gerbil. So a pick and place machine is typically 4-axis. So it drives the 4 stepper motors. There's a vacuum pump back here. And then it's got the head or the tool part of it is right there. And so it's got 2 NEMA 11 stepper motors. The one in the back here is what lifts it up and down. The one here is what allows it to rotate. One of the and so I mentioned that I had placed the constraint on myself that I couldn't buy any parts, though it did turn out that getting parts from friends for free did fit into my self-imposed restriction. So there were a few gifts there. But the other thing I wanted to get from this project was I just wanted to get some experience with things I'd not used before. So I'd never done anything with cable chains like these. I'd never used those before. And this gave me an opportunity to play with those. I'd never used gerbil. I mean, I understand what G code is. I know my 3D printer uses G code, but never really developed a good understanding of that. I have a much better understanding of G code and gerbil now. I'd always shied away from stepper motors. Always thought of them as like, you know, a black art. And now I have a much better understanding of stepper motors. So the end result is I want to have a machine that will allow me to populate boards for my other projects, but it also was very much a learning opportunity, you know, to stick my toe into other things that I haven't done before.
So are you at the point of now programming it to move correctly? Is that where you are?
So there's open source software called OpenPNP, which is an incredible software. So the machine has two cameras. There's a camera up underneath here that looks down, and then there's a camera in the back. You know, let me power it off there. So there's a camera back here that looks up. And the software then uses those cameras to locate parts, locate registration marks. And so it uses the look down camera to locate the registration marks on the board, for example. And so that it can locate, or that you can reference where the parts are. So you would bring the camera over, you'd see the camera image on the screen, and then you'd click on that camera image and say, the first part is here, the last part is here, and then it knows how the parts are oriented. It uses the lookup camera. It'll pick up a part, race over there, look at the part to make sure that it's centered, or, you know, to determine if it's off center, and to determine what its orientation is. And then it uses the, you know, the fourth stepper motor to then rotate the part into the proper orientation before it puts it down. All of that functionality is built into OpenPNP. So it's a pretty incredible piece of software. I've gotten to the point, I've gone through all the calibration. I think I'm to the point to actually now learn how to take the data from Eagle, take the bill of materials, import it into OpenPNP, and set up a job. So I've got this particular board that's here now. I need to populate 4 of those. My understanding is the setup process can be pretty tedious. So doing it for just one board may not pay off, but I need to do 4 of those boards. So I'm hoping that once I get it all set up, I can put the paste on a board, drop it in, have it populate, and then just repeat that 3 more times.
Yeah, so basically you're now working to integrate the software to this new machine.
Right. Well, it's integrated in the sense that when you set up OpenPNP, it has a whole bunch of calibration steps. So
right,
that
right.
it
Calibrate is the
right,
word.
and I've done all those steps.
So have you placed a part yet?
I have seen it. So I previously I put some double-sided tape on the board and had it pick up a part and look at the part and then go over and place the part, and that all, you know, there was much glee at that point.
Awesome.
It was actually funny. The first time I had it pick up a part, I was at a Snowco open house. We were playing around with the machine, and we had it go over, pick up the part, you know, and of course it's like, yeah, hey, look at that, it picked up a part. And then I turned off the vacuum and it didn't drop the part. So I was expecting that my either the vacuum pump or, you know, if you look right about, you look there. So this portion right here, there's a stainless steel piece of tubing that goes up the middle. The pickups, what I'm using for the pickups are, see if I can get this one out of here.
It's a standard, it's not a needle, but it's just a blunt.
Yes, it's those blunt tip syringe tips, and you can get them in a whole variety of different gauges.
Nice.
Right. So so I modeled and print on my resin printer effectively what's at the end of a syringe. These tips have a little bayonet mount, so they mount there. That stainless steel tube goes up the middle, but I needed a way to maintain the vacuum so that tube could rotate, but then my vacuum line could come out. So I was sure that there was going to be leaks, either there or leaks through the vacuum pump itself. Turns out there weren't. So to resolve that, right up here, I made a little needle valve vent. Printed that
so you
on
have
my
an adjustable leak.
That is correct. I have an adjustable leak.
That's nice because then you can adjust exactly how much it leaks, as opposed to if I had made it, it would have leaked everywhere and I wouldn't be able to control the amount of leak.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping it would leak somewhere, but yes, I'm glad it didn't. Now I can adjust the amount of leak.
So I have a question for you. What was the reason for choosing a cookie pan as the base? Was it I had it?
Well, so yes, we have cookie sheets under our oven, and I went to go grab one, and they look cruddy. they are not attractive. So I went out and bought a cookie sheet, or actually a set of 3 cookie sheets. So the family got 2 new cookie sheets, and I used the largest one for this project.
But is there something about a cookie sheet that makes it good as a base for a? I would have thought that the bottom of a cookie sheet is not super flat.
Well,
that's what
it seems to be fairly flat. I've got the cookie sheet upside down, right?
Yeah.
I put a piece of plywood, glued a piece of plywood across the bottom to act as a stiffener. And then I realized there's 3 USB things, right? There's 2 cameras and then the communication with the motherboard. So I put the hub, mounted the hub underneath there to keep everything tidy.
What's the thing in the, is that, oh, that's the camera. Never mind. I got it.
That's the lookup camera.
But seriously, there was, you used a cookie sheet solely because you had been using a cookie sheet before, or did somebody suggest a cookie sheet? I'm just trying to figure out where the idea of a cookie sheet came from.
No, I knew I wanted something metal, something flat, ideally with finished edges. And a cookie sheet just jumped in my mind. It's like, oh, that's flat, fairly shallow. You know, it's got rounded edges. I won't cut myself.
I love it. I love it. So did you, I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but what items did you have to go out and buy? And like, what was the most expensive thing? I'm thinking about, like, if I wanted to make one of these, I've got all the stepper motors, I've got the slides, I can 3D print all the 3D printed parts. What about the little vacuum pick thing, or was there something else that was expensive?
Well, so I did buy the vacuum pump. And actually it was funny because originally I thought the way to do it was to have a vacuum with a valve, right? So I spent a whole bunch of time modeling and fabricating this servo driven rotary valve. Okay. So I thought, okay, I'll have a pump, some sort of pump, and I'll turn the vacuum on and off with this. And the way it's designed, it'll have a vent. Okay. Then a friend of mine looked at that and said, well, that'll be kind of slow actuating. So he had a whole bunch of spare solenoid valves. Okay, so they look like
nice.
They look like this, right?
You have good friends.
Well, yeah, I do. That's why I share all my projects with them. The only thing I had to do in this case was to make this little manifold, right? Because the solenoid valve screws in the two orifices. One goes down the middle of the threads and the other over here. And so I had to fabricate this little manifold.
And it's a nice
and then he pointed out that if you go online and go to PetSmart, they have an aquarium pump for $6 that you can open up, turn the diaphragm around, and it becomes a vacuum pump.
Oh,
so
I want a link.
That's
okay. Yeah, I'll post it. Actually, if we ever get together, you can have mine.
Well, that's unlikely since I'm in Southern California.
Okay, fine. But what I didn't like about the aquarium vacuum pump solenoid approach was that would be one more thing I have to plug in. So I purchased this $12 vacuum pump and made the mount so that I could either mount the solenoid, which is 12 volt, or I could mount the pump, which is 12 volt. So I figured, okay, I got two options, and I'll settle on whichever one works best. So there was a $12 12-volt pump, cameras. I did end up, buying two cameras. They were $12 to $20 a piece for the cameras. Like like the stepper motors, any 4-axis CNC shield would work. Laptop power supply running at 20 volts. I had the DC to DC converter that drops down to 12 that I'm using for running the pump, and that had an enable pin on it. So that's how I turn the pump or valve on and off. And the CNC board is powered off a USB, so I didn't need another 5-volt power supply.
Where did the little gray thing come from? Was that 3D printed? The thing that the tube's going into and the needle goes up and down, is that 3D printed?
Yes, that's all 3D printed on a resin printer.
Ah, okay.
And it's got a couple. It's printed in 3 different parts. You've kind of got the middle part where the vacuum is, and then on each end of that part are some little O-rings, and then you've got the parts on either side of that mount it to the back plate, and they hold the O-rings in. And
that is cool.
And then I designed this. If you look at do-it-yourself pick and place machines, there's a lot of different mechanics for doing the Z-axis. Some people use servos. Some people, they'll have a stepper motor with a lever on it. A lot of different ways of doing that. One of the things I was worried about, now on a real pick and place machine, the nozzles are rubber, silicone, something like that, and spring loaded. So I don't have that forgiveness in mind. And I was concerned, what happens if the stepper motor effectively drives the needle into the part or into the board or whatever. So what I did was, there's a belt here. So there's a belt there, but the belt is not rigidly attached to the slide. There's a little clamp that I put on the belt, and then something that goes over the top of that. So as a result, I can slide it up and down without the belt moving. So effectively, the belt is raising it, gravity is lowering it. So if I drive the belt too far, I don't have to worry about it hitting anything any more than the force, any more than with the weight of that.
So that, how are the thing that attaches the slide to the belt? I wish I could see that mechanism just a little bit better. Is it adjustable somehow?
No. So it literally is just, I don't know, we can get in there. It literally is just a small resin printed part that clamps onto the belt. Okay. It actually has a screw, like a M2 screw that goes through.
Okay, so you can adjust the tension with the screw, or no?
No. It just clamps. So there's a little block that clamps onto the belt, and then there's a filament printed part that's kind of shaped like this. So the belt is going through. That little block is underneath there. The belt can slide through that slot, right?
Yeah.
But when it goes up, the little block pulls it up. But when it goes down, if the slide is gone as far as it's going to go,
I'm sorry. I thought it was a frictional slipping thing, and it's not. It's a lifting against a stop thing. Okay, I'm sorry.
Correct.
I totally got the wrong idea there. So Zia wanted to know how the registration works for the picks. I think it just goes to a specific location, right?
For when it's picking up the parts?
Yes,
Is that the question?
Any clues for how the registration works for each pick?
Well, so one of the things that you do is you calibrate where the camera is in relationship to the tool. Okay, that's one of the calibration steps. So now it knows that it's, 29 millimeters back and 1 millimeter over. It also has this little permanently affixed registration mark. So one of the first things it does after it homes is it goes over there and looks down at that to make sure that it's where it thinks it is in the work area. When you set it up, you'll jog the tool over to where the parts are, and then locate the first part, and using the camera, and locate some other part, and tell it between here and here are 10 parts. Now it knows where every part is, and you do that for each of these strips. And you do the same thing for the printed circuit board. You say this reference point is here, this reference point is there, and that way, if it's not even square on the machine, it can take the information it got from the bill of materials and then correct it for the orientation of the board.
Now, when it picks up the parts, is it moving to a new location and picking up the next part until it's done?
Correct.
Or is it going down and using the needle to pull the tape forward?
So some pick and place machines have feeders, and some feeders are motorized, and they communicate with the motherboard, and the motherboard tells them to advance. Less sophisticated designs will have a little probe on them. Well, some designs, the feeder will have a lever on it, and the head will push against the lever to advance the tape. Then you've got the drag feeders where it's got a little probe that goes into the little hole and literally drags the tape. Because I'm not doing production, I'm not gonna have rolls of parts. I'm gonna have little cut strips, as you can see. And
Right.
so I'm just gonna put the strips out there for the 2, 3, or 4 boards I'm making, and it will pick up the parts. You know, it'll move along and pick up the parts without moving the tape. And so my plan is, so you can see I've started making these little holders, okay?
Yeah.
They've got magnets on the bottom. They'll come in different sizes, and some of them will be black, some will be white. Because if you look at your stock of parts, you know, some of the strips are white paper, and you want contrast.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay. So some of the strips are white paper. I'll put them in black holders. The clear ones, it's hard to get contrast with those little registration holes. But then some of the strips are black plastic, and I'll put those into the white holders.
And the black part in the white holder, I suppose that works too.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
So
potentially have enough room there that you could put several boards and maybe all the parts on that pan.
Yes, so I plan on putting the parts, you know, over in this area. I can line up, you know, 2 sets of these on both sides, I figure. And then I can put the boards here. I've got different size holders that you know, so I can do different size boards. If I had, you know, if I had multiples of these boards and wanted to put them all out there together, I could do that. Yeah, so I mean, it'll be more than adequate for what I need it to do, I think.
So if I decide to build one of these, okay, I had to be quiet for a second there to check to make sure my wife didn't hear me say that and scream. But if I decided to build one of these things, would you share your files for the pickup head?
Yeah,
because I love that design. And how much would it cost me to get you to resin print the resin printed parts? No, you know what? I'll use it as an excuse to buy a resin printer.
Yeah, that's much better. Yep. So
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, Greg. I really love this project. This is really inspiring.
So originally, again, kind of sticking to I have to use what I have. At one point, I did not have these NEMA 11 stepper motors. So I was trying to use some unipolar stepper motors, 48 step. Apparently, that's a very popular design in things like printers and fax machines. So, and they were in my stash of motors. And so the original design of that part there in the middle had a gear on the top, and then that would engage the small gear that was already mounted on the 48 stepper motor. But for the life of me, I could not come up with a way to drive those stepper motors from a CNC shield. It was just getting too complicated. And fortunately, somebody had a bunch of surplus motors they wanted to get rid of. And in that stash was some NEMA 11. So I pounced on those. One of the challenges then that I had was, how was I going to couple the NEMA 11 with, you know, the top of this rotating mechanism? You know, we don't want to use a rigid coupler. And I was trying to figure out, okay, can I use my resin printer to 3D print some sort of a compliant mechanism? And, you know, so I had all these ideas racing around in my head. And then a friend of mine said, flexible tubing. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little piece of this flexible vinyl tubing right there. And it was such an elegant, simple solution that I would never have thought of.
Actually, I used that on I wanted to use a garden controller, and I was very unimpressed with the water control valves that I found. So I just used the standard brass valve, a servo motor, and a little piece of plastic tube as a coupler between the two. Worked perfectly.
An elegant solution.
Yeah, now how does that, oh, that whole thing goes up and down, the stepper motor and the, all goes up and down on the slide there. Yeah.
Correct.
I love the use of the belt and the lift mechanism. I think that's really smart. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned with is how heavy it is, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And if it is, you can always add a little spring at the bottom or something like that just to balance out the weight.
Yeah, I was worried about the weight as well. I mean, I could always put a NEMA 17 up here. Okay.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, I didn't think it had enough oomph, but the problem was these NEMA 11s don't have flats on the
the pulley was slipping on the shaft.
The pulley was slipping because this resin, you can't really, there's a grub screw in there, and I cranked it down too hard and it just snapped that resin. It's not that strong. So
you can always put flat on a shaft with a Dremel.
Yes, the motor went back out to my shed, and I put a grinding thing into my little mill and just moved the shaft back and forth, and made a flat.
Greg,
But that meant, yes.
The part that goes up and down, what does it ride on? Are there slides, or what is that on?
It's a little, yes, it's a very short little slide the bearing, one of those rectangular slides. Another gift from a friend. But I was, it's the bar is only like, about that long. It's got that little slide that goes back and forth. It's got about 20 millimeters of travel on it, which is plenty for this. But every time, this is like version 6 of this mechanism. And every time I would take that slide off, I would be treating it like I was doing, open heart surgery, because if that little block slides off of that bar, it's shot. Those little ball bearings just go everywhere. And so I was just as careful as can be moving it from one to the next version. I was afraid, I didn't want to have to go back to my friend and say, can I have another one of those?
All right. Hey, Greg, it's
Yes,
getting
sir.
almost to 11 here. We're going to have to, we got to wrap you up. You should do a presentation on this thing once you get it working.
Well,
I
I can do
recommend
that.
Make some video on your this thing actually doing that job for you when you get it that far.
I plan on doing that. Hopefully soon.
That'd be awesome.
I need to get back to my robot. I gotta quit getting distracted. But I tell myself this is helping me build the robot. That's how I live with myself. Yes.
Right. Well, we use that for a lot of our justification. It's helping me build my robot. That's why I need a 3D printer. That's why I need a resin printer. That's why I need this kit and that kit. And
Yep.
I don't know how well our significant others really believe that, but hey,
Works for us.
From the standpoint of the Seattle Robotics Society, this is a robot.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I have a friend that gave me a number of the parts for this, and he's a professional machinist. And he says, in my mind, my machines are, my CNC equipment, they're robots. And so, we accept him into our group under that pretense.
All right. Let's see. Thank you, Greg. That was awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump back to that. Okay. Well, I had some fillers just in case we didn't have anything to share, but Greg has done a great job of filling in the time here. So we are coming up on 11 our time, which is about 8 o'clock on Miros. So I'm going to just hit up some before we take our break here. As you guys have probably figured out, the same Zoom link will be next month for next month's meeting, and we'll try to get the recordings of the meeting posted to the website soon. I should say links, and then the meeting recordings will be on YouTube. Just keep an eye on the SRS website for upcoming meeting details, and particularly if we happen to get back to in-person meetings. I'll definitely update that as soon as I know something solid there. And if you have any further information, do continue to plug those into the chat. You can use that to communicate with our presenter here shortly as well. So ask him questions, and I'll be sure that he's aware to keep that window open so he can see the questions coming in. With that, so I've got, as you can see, I have a clock on the screen there. And let's see, let's make this about, let's do 11, let's make it about 11:03. And that'll give me a few minutes, give everybody a chance to run to the bathroom, go grab a cup of coffee or whatever. And so 11:03 back here, and we will get our presenter going. I hope I didn't break anybody's eardrums. Sorry about that.
We seem to have lost Steve.